one. Hello, I am Tiffany Tarpley with 3 News, and today we are doing this, virtual conversation of sorts, right? Virtual learning has been happening over the past several months, as we know. Before the summer began. But teachers have been dealing with a lot of struggles, I would say. I'm sure along with the challenges, though, there are some kind of unique ways that you all have been able to reach students as well during this time. But the fall semester, the fall quarter, it is fast approaching for the teachers that we have with us today. And we want to talk about this, we hear about this digital divide and what that is and how it's affected teachers and students. So joining me now, the guests here for this virtual conversation are Majin Kroll, a STEM specialist at Breakthrough Schools in Cleveland, first grade teacher Jillian Arns from Cleveland's Memorial School, and Gary Jackson, who teaches at Max Hayes High School in Cleveland. So we appreciate you taking the time for this conversation today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so first of all, thank you for the work that you all do as teachers. Any year I think can probably have its challenges, but the what we had this spring and then what's coming up in the fall, even more so. Jillian, I'll start with you. How has this digital divide affected your students? I mean, what did you see last spring?
Sure. In the spring, our families were able to get typically one device per household is how the district was dispersing their technology. And we learned quickly the need for our students to have that one-to-one technology, a device for every child in the home. And the district has worked extremely hard in order for all of our scholars this year to have a device that is one-on-one, so they're able to attend their sessions online, they're able to complete their activities and all of the learning opportunities with their own technology. Part of that also was getting hotspots and Wi-Fi into the homes of Cleveland, which is a huge lift. And we've partnered with a lot of different organizations through the city in order to make that happen. And we're very excited for that opportunity for each and every student.
Yeah. And so, Majin, I'll ask you, being a STEM specialist now, this new role that you're taking, has it been difficult to teach children in this type of setting, or how is it kind of unique for you?
Yeah, it's certainly a unique situation that we're in. And I think similar to Jillian's district, our network has made it a priority to make sure that every single one of our scholars has access, not only to a device, but also to the internet, whether it's a hotspot or something else, some other partner that we've been able to work with. So we're really fortunate in that we've been able to make that happen. And that's been super helpful in bridging the divide and making it feasible for us to instruct all of our scholars online. I think as a STEM specialist, as a science teacher, my class was really very hands-on by nature, right? So that became at least an initial hurdle that I had to get over. And in the spring was able to create some videos and put out some content that my students could engage with that would allow them to get hands-on with science, even from their own home with like hands-on activities and stuff. It was super fun. I posted a video and then they would post their videos in response and show me what they were up to at home. It was awesome. For the fall, we're definitely pivoting more towards a completely synchronous instruction. We want all of our scholars live with us to be able to reach them in the moment and not have to hope that they see an activity that was posted, right? So we're actually really quickly working right now in order to make sure that all of our scholars have little kits that they can do with all the materials that they'll need to do hands-on learning live with their teachers throughout the fall semester, which is really exciting. So we're committed to finding those ways to bridge the divide and reach through the screen, so to speak, in order to allow all of our scholars to engage in all of their subjects, but especially a subject like science that really lends itself so well to that hands-on learning.
And so I saw a few of your links and saw the activities that you're doing on YouTube.
Yes.
To not only get your students probably inspired, but other students, right? Like everyone has access to that. So
yeah, it's true.
Cool. I think a big concern for a lot of parents, at least what we heard in the spring was, are they getting that same education that they would have gotten, in person? I guess, Jillian, what have you noticed? I mean, were your students able to get that same education? Was it difficult? And what's going to change moving forward, I think, in this this first quarter of the fall?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no substitute for in-person education. However, I'm really excited about the opportunities our students are going to have moving into this new space. I think that our focus in the spring was really, we made connections with our families and tried to make sure they were retaining learning. And our Cleveland teachers also were phenomenal. They were doing lessons on WUAB regularly, like having actual lessons going out daily for like into the homes of every child. We are very excited as well as we move into the space of remote learning to make sure our students do have live class time with their teachers, that they're able to engage with lessons daily. And then they will also have the opportunity to do online independent work, which is, it's a new, we're kind of flipping the classroom a little, which is different for a lot of our students and different for a lot of our families and teachers as well. So it's really important as we are gathering these tools and resources to use over the next 9 weeks with our students. I've taught for over 20 years and I'm learning things I've never done before, but I'm excited about it. Like, I'm really pumped. I think it's going to be fun to engage with the kids and to really see how they interact in this new environment.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can speak into any more detail. Like, I have a friend who has a son who's going into kindergarten. I know that's different than first grade, but when you talk about that young age and they need that social interaction, you know what I mean? They're learning
Sure.
those kind of those things that we kind of all take for granted. Um, how are you going to address those things? Do you think through a screen?
Absolutely. The connections and relationships are like so important. It's where a lot of the learning matters, is it happens between kids and between the relationship between the teacher and the student. We have intentional social emotional learning morning meetings planned in our day for our students to make sure we're taking time each and every day to connect and check in with our students to see how they're doing. This is new for them as well, and really to help build those relationships and have some time in groups as well as one-on-one with kids to really ask them and hear their voice and see how they, like, how we can best support them, and to see if there's any ways we can support their family even. We're really excited about that type of connection, and we are intentionally training that with our staff members right now. That way they understand the importance of that connection with the kids.
Yeah, and I'll ask you too, Majin. You're dealing with students who are a bit older, but I can still only imagine how that interaction is key and necessary.
Absolutely.
How are you working around that, or how do you plan to? I mean, is this something that you're learning about in these sessions that teachers are having before the first
Absolutely.
quarter?
Yeah. So I'm really grateful for our network having made the decision to start fully remote so far in advance, that we've been able to build out a really robust professional development course over the past couple of weeks that make sure that all of our teachers are ready for this when we step into the classroom on September 8th. And I think absolutely all of the things that we're doing have been laid out with the intention of making sure that we can engage with our scholars and that they can engage with each other as much as possible. In the spring, it was a lot more asynchronous. However, in the fall, we're going fully synchronous. Like the school day will look very similar to what it looked like in person, just online. The schedule is laid out very much the same, and that scholars have hours a day with all of their peers and various teachers throughout the day, which is really exciting, and I think is going to be crucial in building those relationships and making sure that students feel connected not only to their teacher but to all of their peers. We're talking about and training on how to best leverage breakout rooms. I know that that's the bane of every adult's existence in Zoom meetings, but it's going to be so important and so exciting for our scholars to be able to do those things that would just be like a regular turn and talk in the classroom in the virtual environment, and really, especially, again, I know I keep coming back to science class, right? But especially in the science class where you want them working together and collaborating and solving problems together, something like a breakout room is going to be crucial to that aspect of a science class as well.
So I will ask you this because, and I want to let people know if they have any questions for teachers. We're talking about virtual learning. We're also talking about the digital divide that a lot of people don't understand just how real it is, I think, in some of our districts here. But what advice would you have for parents? How can parents help you and also help their children through this time if they're doing that virtual learning?
Sure, I can answer if you'd like. It's critical, especially for I think the younger learners. As a first grade teacher, I struggle sometimes to worry, is my child or is my student going to be struggling with the actual content, or I don't want the technology to hinder their progress in the course, like, because I need to be able to teach them to read. But now we have the added step of learning the technology. And so I know our district's family and community engagement office is looking at how we can support families in this effort, acknowledging that a lot of our families will have working parents. And one of the things our district is doing is encouraging and having lessons put into our learning management system. So if a child is unable to see it live, they can still go back and access that content and can view the lesson, realizing there's going to be lots of different situations our families are dealing with. But I also, our schools are having virtual open houses with our families and are going to be going through the basics of how to help understand the system your child is going to be using, how to log in, making sure they understand basically what the day will look like for their child, encouraging, of course, for our students to have a place to be their learning space. Like when they're there, it's time to learn, and like to help them focus in on their assignments and their activities that they're going to be during the day. This is different. As Mr. Carl said, like we're going to be doing more of the in-person one-on-one instruction as well. And during that time, it's important for our kids to do what they've not done before. And I can imagine for my 6-year-olds in my class, learning to mute sometimes, or learning to, do these things they've never maybe had to do before. It is going to be a skill that they may need a little assistance on, especially with the younger learners. And we're hoping to support our families and our caretakers to make sure that they can support the kids in their learning.
Majin, did you have something?
Yeah, sounds like we're very much in sync with the way our two networks or districts are approaching this. We've really invested in one main learning management system so that families and students alike all just have to learn the one program, as opposed to in the spring where we were honestly more scattered trying to figure out what was working. We've been able to, for the fall, invest in just this one platform that your scholar logs into every day to go to class, essentially. And they, as a parent, you can go in and see how they're doing. As well as also having, one of the things that I know all of our schools are doing right now are virtual home visits. So we would normally be going to our scholars' homes in person and get to know that not only the scholar, but the families that support them. Obviously not doing that in the pandemic, but are able to do that virtually as well, so that we're still having those very individualized contact points with our families. The group open houses, virtual open houses are great, and we're doing those as well. But I think the big lift right now is on those virtual home visits that will really allow us to build those one-on-one connections now before school's even started.
And so I want to reintroduce Gary Jackson. He is a teacher at Max Hayes High School. And you've kind of been reassigned, correctly, because of what happened with COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I wasn't reassigned because of COVID.
Okay.
I was reassigned because John Adams Comprehensive is no more. We have a new school form.
I see.
So I've been reassigned, and I'll be instructing a new position this year.
Okay. And so, what would be your advice? That was the question I asked. What would be your advice to parents, and how they can not only help, their students, but help you, the teacher? Like what advice would you give for them during this virtual learning this fall?
Well, the parent is the key. The parent has to be fully engaged for this to work. If the parents aren't fully engaged, this is not going to work. And what I mean by fully engaged, of course, the parents are not going to know. They're not going to know the material like us teachers. They're not going to know that. But still, being engaged doesn't mean you have to know that. So if you're engaged, then that means you're going to hold me accountable. So whatever you don't understand, whatever your child doesn't understand, communicate that with the teacher and allow me to do my job more effectively.
And I'll also ask, I did ask, kind of, can you talk about some of the challenges in the spring with virtual learning, and maybe some of the kind of the ways that you've worked to overcome those challenges and those hurdles that you had in the spring?
Well, the greatest challenge, in my opinion, in my view, is the fact that most of my students, and I'm referring to my John Adams students. I'm quite certain it's this way all across the district. But our kids don't have computers. The school does the best that they can by giving them computers, but a lot of the time, those computers, a lot of them don't work. When, for example, when we went out due to COVID, our school gave out computers to the kids. Most of them couldn't log in, whether it was a computer problem or whether it was a district problem. So you had that problem there. But really, the main issue is a lot of our kids don't have internet access. That's the major hurdle.
And that's what we're talking about here with this digital divide, the lack of access to high-speed internet, to computers, and from what I understood too, at least for CMSD, there was a point where they were trying to get at least one device in a household, and now they're working to try to get one device in the hands of every student. Gary, how are you moving forward in this fall semester? I can only imagine the struggles for even the students last time if they couldn't even log on. How are you going to work to address those issues this fall? Can you, as a teacher?
I know I'm taking a different approach. We may have a lot to complain about because there's a lot of things coming our way now. The district is doing what they can to get us ready for this virtual learning. But my approach is we're going to have to do what we have to do.
Yeah. And so I just, some people are chiming in a little bit here, and I was looking at Facebook. I just want to make sure I'm answering any questions that people might have. But some people are just saying hi and letting us know that they're watching. So we appreciate that as well. I think I'll ask each of you, maybe for final thoughts as we head into this fall semester. Anything that I may have missed this fall quarter, I should say, because things could change after the first 9 weeks. But anything you'd want to say that you think it's very important for people to understand and to know about what we are heading into this fall quarter with COVID. Who wants to go first?
I'll say I really am trying to keep focused on the opportunity, because I think anytime we have a challenge, we also have an opportunity. And I think that our entire community has gone through a lot of changes in these last few months. And I really am trying to find new things that we can integrate and make sure are part of our new normal. I hate that, but it's the sound of those words, but it's the truth. And I'm trying to find that. I also want to say our collaboration, our teamwork with our schools has been critical in our success. There's a lot of new things we're learning. It can be overwhelming at times for our staff members to understand how it's all going to fit together, how it's going to work. But I think what gives me peace at the end of the day is knowing I have fabulous staff at my school, our administrators, our coworkers, that we can lean on and say, have you figured this out? Can we make this? And then we've been doing practice sessions and practicing the classes so that we can work the bugs out to be ready to go on day one with the kids. And I think that collaboration and that teamwork is so, so, so important, because we have a support system to lean on. And I want to make sure our families have that support system as well, that if they need, support, we're going to be there to help our families and our scholars and to make sure they have what they need to be successful. Because at the end of the day, I think this time period, more so than ever, gives us the chance to really look at what education is, what it means, what it could be, and what it can be, and what it will be. I really believe this is opening the door to a lot for our students, and I'm excited about that. I actually think it's going to be fun to see how it all comes together. I'm excited.
Well, that's a great sentiment. I echo a lot of what Jillian just said. The collaboration piece at our school has been so exciting to see. I know I've worked in a bubble a lot of my educational career, and by nature, we just all have to broaden our horizons. We have to collaborate with our peers a lot more. And it's been so great to see everybody working together to be like, all right, let's figure this out together, and do what's best for our scholars and our families at the end of the day. And I think the other thing that I'll say is just everybody needs to have grace with one another, that we have to have grace with ourselves as well, and be willing to learn by doing, and sort of figuring it all out as we go is going to be crucial to this time as well. We're as prepared as we can be, but we all know that there will be inevitable hurdles, right? And when we come to them, we'll hurdle those together, in that collaborative fashion that we've normed on already. So I'm really excited, like Jillian, to see what all of this brings, and to make sure that all of our families and scholars are supported in every single way that they need to, and that we provide the education that all of our scholars deserve at the end of the day, and that we don't have time to waste, and that they're not going to miss out on that just because of this pandemic.
Gary, I'll let you round it out.
I agree with both. This has to be a collaborative effort between everyone. I personally don't believe that we have any room for conflict, because again, our kids are the ones that are going to suffer the most if this doesn't work. So my message would be, again, like both, we need to make sure everyone is on the same page, administration, teachers, everyone involved. But most importantly, I'll stick with this does not work without the parents. The misconception of blaming the teachers all the time, it's not that cut and dry. We need our parents to view us like we view them, and that's as partners. So once we get that going, we get the parents more involved. This won't be a disaster. This will be a great situation, and we'll be ready for when our kids come back.
All right. Well, I just want to thank all of you. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here on Facebook, but I definitely want to say thank you for taking the time to do this and just to be so honest and really talk to us about these issues. Stephanie says hi, Jillian. Stephanie Bluffstone. She says hi.
Hi, Stephanie.
I just want to put that out there. But thank you so much. I think, like I said before, your jobs are already tough. And you all are so inspiring, right? Teachers, we all have our favorite teacher. And so just thank you for the hard work that you're putting in to make sure that our children are well educated, even during these difficult times. And you're going to see a little bit more about the digital divide and the issues here in Cleveland, not only the issues, but how people are really working to overcome them. Our next turning point that is happening next Thursday at 7:00 in the evening, and that is on September 3rd. So again, thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of